Greetings, Troma fans, and welcome to another Troma special, counting down the 50th anniversary of Troma. And Todd, as I adjust my camera, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing all right. Always good when we're going to talk some Troma, good or bad.
Absolutely. There is no bad Troma. Well, there is, but
I should be the one saying that.
yes. So we have some interesting ones tonight. Not like heavy hitter names necessarily, but I think ones that I think if you're a diehard Troma fan, you certainly remember. You certainly remember the titles for sure. And yeah, we'll get right into it with our first film of the evening, which is going to be a little bit complicated. And that is 2004. We'll get into it, but 2004's Tales from the Crapper. This has a very complicated history with several different directors. But we'll get into that. First, just from the back cover, which tells you everything you need to know. Tales from the Crapper is the inaugural film in Troma Entertainment and Lloyd Kaufman's acclaimed Dogpile 95 doctrine of digital filmmaking, and is destined to be part of all the critics' must-see lists this year. Filmed in 3 countries over 3 years with 6 directors, 15 writers, and a cast of hundreds, Tales from the Crapper adds up to pure and Troma-tainment, hosted by everybody's favorite harbinger of the horrible, the CrapKeeper, played by Lloyd Kaufman. Tales from the Crapper boasts not one, but 2 films in one extraordinary digital movie. Cutting-edge digital movie, Todd. Twice the monsters, twice the fat guys, twice the lesbians, twice the boobies. Tired of searching for the perfect blend of highbrow entertainment, kung fu action, alien adventure, and hot vampire lesbian sex? Well, look no further, because Tales from the Crapper is the perfect combination of all those things. There we go.
And while you were talking, Dan, I was showing off the DVD. It's got the
Yes.
lenticular cover.
Yes, I got that here too, kind of.
Not as lenticular as some of the others, but it also has a poster inside of Julie Strain, which is nice.
Yes. There you go. I miss Julie. We'll talk a lot about her in this one because she is a highlight. So, all right. So this one has a complicated history. It is a Frankenstein together movie. And I remember this one was a bit of a nightmare for Lloyd Kaufman. In fact, if you look at the documentary on the film, which you can see if you have the DVD, of course, he explains that essentially he gave $200,000 to Playboy Playmate India Allen, and she was going to basically take that $200,000 and make 2 movies starring Julie Strain. And well, as the documentary breaks down in great detail, she fucked up badly.
And it's not like it was someone she just delivered the Rowdy Girl. So I mean, so you figured it's not a bad investment.
Yeah, she did Rowdy Girls, which was a Western with Julie Strain, certainly one that I really hope we'll see at some point on Blu-ray. And yeah, it was just one of those things where I guess you're kind of assuming you'll get a professional project, but sound wasn't recorded, special effects weren't finished. If you're a fan of movie making, you might be watching this episode and thinking, like, I have no interest in something called Tales from the Crapper. But if you have an interest in filmmaking, watch the hour-long doc on this. I've been there when you're dealing.
You can see Lloyd at his most defeated while watching this.
I have never seen him more genuinely upset. He could barely even muster the humor on that doc.
Yeah, and it's so unlike any of the other Troma docs. It's just such a different vibe.
I think that's obviously a lot of money for Troma, and seeing what happened and then just flushing it, flushing $200,000+ down the toilet like that. I'm sure I've been there where you're dealing with people who have no fucking clue what they're doing. There's a funny, because you're seeing some of this footage from the doc, which cuts back to where India was filming, so there was no beef yet. And Lloyd is in this parking lot set where they're lighting fires right next to cars.
That's post Indian out. That's the reshoots.
Was that the reshoot? Okay,
yes.
They cut back and forth.
So no, it's still like it's still looking back on the reshoots. So it's like after the first set, then we have the reshoots, and then Lloyd talking now, and we're going back to the reshoots.
And there were issues on the reshoots too, because obviously he's calling in a lot of favors, a lot of famous people in this movie that we'll run down. But there was heavy drinking and partying, which you see on this doc, and it was just like a never-ending nightmare for poor Lloyd in this. I will say kudos to the people who came through for him in the cast. I mean, Trey Parker, James Gunn, God, who else popped up in here? Wes Craven visited the set and gave them $100. He looked like, man, I don't want to be here. I don't know why he was there. Here's $100. It's pretty funny. Ted Raimi is in this. I mean, they kind of called in a lot of favors to sort of salvage this movie. And essentially, you're taking two films together that are shockingly unfinished. You can kind of see what they were going for, but they just have to take it, mash them together, dub it, and it works. It's hard to call this a movie so much as just a Troma riff tracks, but it does kind of work. On paper, we have one story, the actual movie that would have been made with Jorge Garcia, who just was debuting on Lost.
I was going to say, you forgot some stars. You left him out. You left Eli Roth out.
Well, Jorge Garcia was in the original movie.
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah, so
that was a bonus for them. They just shit on him the whole movie.
And that's like a lesbian vampire thing. You have Julie Strain, who's hilarious.
Yes.
And also on this DVD, you get a lot of particularly explicit Julie Strain nudity, which was common if you've watched any of the Andy Sedaris Blu-rays. She always did her behind the scenes stuff. Delta Dies, another good one where she's just at her house, being goofy, doing her thing. I mean, she was such a cool person, funny lady. So you can't go in this expecting a movie. This is riff tracks, and it's funny. I mean, it is funny. Lloyd Kaufman, to me, is one of the funniest human beings to ever walk the face of the earth. And I'm not the, die hard, I worship everything Troma does fan that you are.
I was going to say, who'd do that?
But I will say, at his best, Lloyd Kaufman's one of the funniest human beings to ever walk the face of the earth. That dude is just funny. And they make this work. Ted Raimi gets a chicken rammed up his ass and out his dick. There's Trey Parker, of all people, kind of doing his aristocrats gag. It's hard. Like, this is for fans. If you're coming in and you don't care about Troma, I don't know that there'll be a lot for you, except a lot of Julie Strain nudity. But I mean, you get to see a lot of ridiculous shit. The whole alien segment where Julie gets rectally penetrated, I believe, by the praying mantis monster, alien, whatever the fuck, and turns into some sort of mutant herself. It's all ridiculous. And the extra features are just as much a part of this movie. In fact, I would say if you're going to dive into it, you'll want to watch that hour doc so you can you'll have a different appreciation for it. And Susie Lorraine, notable scream queen, she is playing one of the lesbians on the extra features. It's Troma. It's always quotable. Smells like fine fudge packed ass was one of the lines that should have gone on the box. So yeah, I had a blast. I just think, again, I don't know if it even qualifies as a true movie, but what did you think, Todd? Tales from the Crapper.
I qualify it as a true movie, but that's me. But if you do that, then it's not the greatest of movies, like by any stretch.
Yeah.
Like I recognize that. It is just, it's like all Troma. I mean, they salvaged what they could. I mean, most people would have just gave up on that footage, but not Troma.
200 grand. I mean.
Yeah, it's crazy what they pulled off to make it work. It's all over the place, but it's funny. I mean, always like, the off-screen lines are always, that's Troma's been doing that forever, going way back to like Waitress and stuff. So
is it Parts of the Family that's also kind of a Frankenstein movie where they dub everything? Yeah, there's a few like that.
Yeah, then there's also Ferocious Female Fighters.
Ferocious Female Freedom Fighters.
Freedom Fighters, thank you. But that's more like, that was planned out. That was like like their version of that Woody Allen movie with the same from the then. But
yeah, honestly, my biggest pitch for this is just Julie Strain being hilarious, being sexy, doing Julie Strain. If you love Julie, actually, I would say this is a must see. She saved a lot of movies just through her extra features, which I doubt she was even paid extra for. I think she always seemed really cool. I mean, I never worked with her, obviously, but she always seemed like somebody that just fully committed to the project. I don't think she was ever above it, she did a lot of B movies, and I think she did them for a reason, because she was just really cool to work with. And, I think Jim Wynorski and a lot of those guys that had the pleasure to deal with her will attest to that. And
yeah, I've never heard anyone say anything bad about her.
Yes. And cool cover art too. Oh, and shout out to Bruce Coogan, professional badass and all-American pussy magnet. Those are some of the characters they salvage out of this. So lots of nudity, lots of alien sex, lots of toilet humor. It's Troma, and it puts a smile on my face.
There's a blink and you'll miss it cameo from Leroy from XPW, the ring crew guy, RCG, who also works with Full Moon, who pops up in this as a party goer.
Oh, okay. Now he would be interesting to talk about. Like, did Lloyd yell at you? Because Lloyd did kind of. I mean, look, I think he knows how to run a set. You read his book, like, it's not all just yucks while you're on set with him. But yeah, that poor guy. Like, you could just see how frustrated and angry he was
when he kicked the wall.
Yeah, that's what's so cool about this, because they filmed all of this, so you're getting a little bit of the before. India Allen is on that doc. I mean, you do see her when they're still shooting that, and yeah, and what's also really cool, well, not cool, sad for you is particular. If you're watching the end of that doc, they're actually 3 months after they wrapped all the reshoots, they demolished the Troma office in LA. Do you actually see them knocking the Troma letters off with a hammer. Which, God, Todd, how did you not just get down there and volunteer to take that stuff home?
Because I didn't know what it was. The internet was different then, Dan. It was a lot different.
You should have just sensed it. Your Todd senses should have started to tingle, and you should have gotten.
I knew there was a Troma LA office, but I never knew where it was. And from the look of it, it was in the heart of the ghetto.
Yeah, it didn't look like it was in the best area, but
that's why Wes Craven was like, "Here's $100, I'm out."
It amazes me that Lloyd has been able to operate in New York for as long as he has. Obviously, not right in the city, but
he was for years and years and years.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they still do operate out of New York, right? They still have an office somewhere.
They do, but it's not the big famous Troma building that McDonald's got into.
Yeah. Poultrygeist coming soon.
I'm trying to remember where the new one is. Threw me on the spot.
Oh no, that's okay. I figured you may not.
But no, it's still somewhere. It's
just the fact that Troma is still running at all. Like, I mean, they have been through an insanely evolving industry now for so many decades that they're still putting out movies, which, Shakespeare shitstorm coming soon for everybody.
It's in Queens now.
Queens, okay. I haven't really looked into it for a while, but I mean, shit, dude. It just, even that, it's just amazing. Oh, and I have to point out, James Gunn. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, but that's the only thing that'll get me to the East Coast.
There you go. James Gunn. Little bit ironic that his gag involves talking about sacrificing children so he could make it in Hollywood, considering that he had some controversy there for a while for some of his theme parties.
Not to mention he brings up the superhero stuff too. Huh?
Yeah. I'm trying to place, I mean, where he was at in his career at this point.
This is 90 it's post. I think it's post Scooby-Doo.
It is. He does reference Scooby-Doo.
Okay, but so that's right around there. Scooby-Doo was 2002, so he may have. I don't know if it was done at that point or it was just in production.
Yeah.
No, it would have been done because that part was filmed later. Okay, yeah. So that would have been 2000. 2004 is the video date. It didn't,
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't a Hollywood god, possible savior to DC or Marvel, whatever he's doing right now. It is funny to see that, but honestly, I think he would still do it to this day. I think he'd go down and shoot something. Maybe not talking about sacrificing children, but
He might not. Now he just brings Lloyd from Tromaville. He goes the opposite way now.
He does, and that's actually very cool that he, continued. A guy that did, without Lloyd Kaufman, we might not have Guardians of the Galaxy and all of that as we know it. So, I also want to put over before we move on, because I know a lot of this isn't even directly about the movie, but again, it is what it is. In the extras, you do get to see Lloyd Kaufman blow Joe Fleischaker, which is hilarious. And they do a segment with Debbie Rochon as the third partner at Troma, Zelda Lipschitz, which is also very funny. So yeah, if you're a Troma fan, this is a must see if you've never seen it. I have no idea how to actually rate this one, though. It feels
that's the problem.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I did take the time to check out the series version of Tales from the Crapper that they split up into episodes.
Yeah.
The only real difference is they have a little new opening filmed, which is basically just a commercial for the series, and then they just have it clipped up into each parts with a new little opening graphic.
Okay.
I had to check it out just to see the differences. If they were, I kind of wish they would have filmed something new, like for the beginning and after each episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, very full moonish.
What do you think the prospects are for a Blu-ray on this one?
It was shot on DV. It's not low.
That's what I was thinking. Yet it is a name that pops up when people bring up Troma.
I mean, it's not like complete. It's not one I think like. Well, the Vinegar Syndrome wouldn't touch it. It's not one so it'd have to be in house, and I don't know if they want to deal with anything after that Rabid Grannies thing, because people are going to be. Well, it doesn't look like a Blu-ray because the way it's shot. So I don't know. I mean, I'd love to still have it on one, but
get India, Allen, and Lloyd on a commentary track. And that might make it worth the price of admission. They both sued each other. She countersued, I believe, for sexual harassment or something. So, yeah. But
I probably shouldn't be laughing at that. I feel like I need to cut that.
I don't know. It's just all a bunch of craziness at this point. But all right, let's go ahead and rate it, because it's not really a movie, so you know what? I'm not even going to give this one a rating. I'll just say, if you are a Troma fan and you haven't seen it, then it is must see. And it's also one, I don't know as far as streaming if it includes all those extras. So this is probably one you might want to seek out the DVD.
It features, you can watch the documentary on there and the movie, and then the episodes, which is but I mean all the other little stuff, I don't think it's there, but I know the documentary's there.
There you go. Watch the doc. That's almost part of the experience for this one. So, Tales from the Crapper. Moving on next to our older film of the evening, 1998's Decapitated, from director Matt Cunningham. And in this film, we don't care if you screamed last summer. This summer, you will be decapitated. The Troma team is proud to present Decapitated, the most insanely entertaining horror film ever created, from director Matt Cunningham. And even though they know very little about camping, 7 unsuspecting friends decide to take a vacation in the wilderness, winding up in the infamous haunted woods of Decamp Acres. The bloody fun begins when the decapitated crew start to die at the hands of a mysterious killer. Bang your head against the screen as the flesh flies to the beautiful soundtrack, which includes music from H2O, Strife, Coalesce, Hatebreed, and many more. All right, so
now you're gonna ask me what I'm rating the last movie?
Oh, well, I thought we weren't. I just wasn't.
No, you said you weren't rating it.
All right, go ahead and give it a 5, Todd.
I'm not. In the Troma catalog, I give it about a 3.
Oh, okay.
I have fun watching it, but I'm realistic on this one.
I give it a 3.5. So there you go. I liked it more than you. All right. So now this movie, which I did like it, again, it's just complicated because it's all broken.
No, I get it. And that's why I'm lower on that one than I would be a normal Troma movie.
Yeah.
So sorry. Now back to Decapitated.
So this one, it's very silly. Silly is kind of the word with this one. It's a lot of kind of Three Stooges type comedy. It has all the Troma trademarks. It's not particularly raunchy. I mean, there's some, again, some toilet humor. There's some funny gore. I think the best scene in the entire movie is the opening scene where the girl's getting chased by the killer and she gets caught in a bear trap, cuts her foot off to avoid the bear trap, gets caught in another bear trap, cuts her foot off. Then it kind of keeps escalating. I thought that was the funniest gag. And other than that, I will say Bethany Lavu, who played Paige, fucking adorable. I'm surprised she didn't really do anything else. She kind of looks like a lot, actually, a dead ringer for Charisma Carpenter, and she's just a beautiful, funny lady in this, and I don't know. It's weird because I could have seen her going on to do much more. This is a very low budget movie. Apparently, it was shot for under $15,000. The director of photography was apparently the only person paid. The lead is kind of doing a Jim Carrey thing. He looks like a young Julian Sands and kind of plays it like that on ecstasy, I guess I would say. You can tell everybody had a blast making this movie, and that enthusiasm kind of does carry through to the viewer, but it's a lot of hit and miss, and it's a little long too. I mean, I think it's only like 90 some minutes, so it's not a long movie, but the silliness kind of weighed on me.
I think the biggest problem with it is because I've always been a fan of this one. I've always defended it.
I think Ozzy would like it.
It's when it's funny.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to push this in a future farce for Halloween. Maybe not this year, but because we're doing it right now. But in a future one, I think that's maybe next year. I'll sneak that one in.
Yeah.
My biggest problem though, and I think this time watching it, I was like, you're right. The opening it sets up the tone, but then like that's like the peak of the joke.
That, and I will actually say there's one other hilarious scene where a character gets their throat cut, and it's just this insane, like, delayed maybe death scene where it's like an entire song practically plays. Then he's confronted by his friends who are worried, and then he has to like write down what happened, all while losing like 20 gallons of blood that probably shot out of his throat. There's a couple gags like that are genuinely funny. It's just the tone of it through the whole thing just kind of
it's really goofy, and you have to really be in the mood for that. So
yeah, and it's not a bad movie, and I think the humor may play for others more. Watching it again, because I really couldn't remember a ton about this. I can see why it probably took me like I don't know 15-20 years to watch it a second time. It makes sense. It's not one you're going to pop in all that often. Towards the end, I'm really kind of just ready to
for it
go
to be
home.
over.
Yeah, again, the fish hook gags and everything, it could have been trimmed. I think you could have gotten this down to like 70 minutes, and
it's still in that era though. 90 minutes was the time.
That is true.
Yeah, I mean, same with Tales from the Crapper.
Yeah, and
that one's 90 minutes on the nose.
Yes, that was just expected, and yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna still be generous to this one because it has its audience. I mean, I can see, like I said, I can see maybe Ozzy and Greg really loving it.
I think this will piss off Ozzy, but Greg will have some because he didn't like that Lost Skeleton movie either. Ozzy did not.
Yeah, I wouldn't quite put this,
but I could see it being him having a similar reaction. But
yeah, I'd love to see Ozzy watch Poultrygeist. That one I think could be interesting.
Maybe I'll get him to. I'm going to work on getting him as a guest on this one.
Yeah, maybe.
But it'll get.
Might be too much.
Yeah, that might be a little
gore and lesbians for Ozzy. I don't know, but yeah, you're gonna have to give this one a try. It's intentionally what it is. I would not call it a bad movie.
They made what they wanted.
They made what they wanted to make.
I think one thing though is like it being from Troma, you are expecting it to be more raunchy, and it is like a lot. It's the same style of humor, but not as hard R. It's more goofy than
Yeah, like
not subversive like I think Troma is. It's missing that.
It's you have some bodily fluids, but it's not projectile bodily fluids.
Right.
It's not nonstop.
But I can also see why when
Yeah.
they saw it, this was a movie they decided
It fits.
they picked up.
Yeah.
So
there's certainly lamer slasher movies around this time. Yeah, you at least get a little bit of goofy gore here. No nudity, although that also kind of makes sense for that time because we didn't get that in anything practically theatrical in terms of slashers. So yeah.
the director went on to do special effects for The Predator and Starship Troopers.
There you go. That's awesome. And there is also some political correctness issues here that wouldn't fly now as well. So it's a tough one. I'm giving it a 2.5. It's not one that generally works for me, but there's at least 2 times where I laughed out loud. So that's more than you get in most modern comedies. So there you go. It might gel better with you.
All right. Very cool. This is actually like making me interested to revisit. Like I have another one from that era that I was really a big fan of. I'm going to see how it holds up. Because I think this
what
one,
do you give it?
I'm getting there. Because I think that this one I've changed a little bit on, and I think I used to like it a lot. Like of the pickups, it was one of my favorite.
Yeah,
I still like it a lot, but I'm at the 3.5, higher than you, but a little lower than me on my Troma average.
That's okay. So yeah, a couple interesting Troma titles tonight. Like I said, it's an interesting night at the movies if you watch them both. And I'm fascinated when it comes to behind the scenes stuff with movies. And this sounds honestly like it's probably the worst shoot that Lloyd Kaufman ever had. And I kind of remember that back then. There were a lot. Like I remember, we're going a little bit later, but not too much later, with Poultrygeist, where there was a lot of speculation that could be it for Troma if that didn't do reasonably well. So
they say that every movie.
They do, but I remember even like being online at the time, and I was still going to Fangoria conventions at that point, saw some panels. Like it seemed like it might be pretty dire on that one, but I don't know. That was at least my impression.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's different.
Yeah. But Poultrygeist, that needs to be one for Ozzy. Have we done that at least on this new?
No, we have not. That's one still coming up. Maybe I'm going to try to push that one through a Halloween this year. I'm going to put that in the vote for Halloween. So if I get that through for that, I'm going to hold off on it for this show for a minute.
Might even be a fun watch along. I don't know. I like Poultrygeist.
I know you're a fan. By the time this airs, the Toxic Avenger box set, 4K box set will be out.
Yeah.
And you do realize you'll be in California. And you do realize you're going to have to watch the Toxic
all
Avenger.
4 of them, yes. So I'm cool with that. We rewatched the first one not too long ago, but it's been a little while since I've watched the sequels, so get to watch it on the big screen.
I'll try not. I'll try not to talk along to the whole series.
And yes, you probably seen like all the crazy shit we've been up to at this point by the time this airs. So there you go. So on that note, everyone, thanks for watching, and we will be back with more Troma goodness shortly. And R.I.P. Julie Strain. We'll just end it on that.
I'm going to add the exit thing here.
And long live Lloyd Kaufman.
There we go.
I saved it.
No, well, it's all right. I'm going to cut it because I have the wrong.
Long live Lloyd Kaufman.